Well, I have all 3 tool racks hung in the windows. That and more coming up. Hello there and welcome to WB Fine Woodworking. I'm Don. As you can see, all 3 of the tool racks are up in the windows. I'm really excited about this particular project because now I'm going to have a place to store a lot of my tools that are just sitting out around the shop. A lot of times I can't find them either. I'm sure none of you had that particular problem, do you? This particular video is going to be some about the inspiration behind this. First of all, why do I have windows in my shop? And are windows a good place to put a workbench? I'm planning to put my workbench right over here on this particular side, right under the windows. Now I'll have a place to store the tools that I use at my workbench. And where in the world did I get the idea of the hinges for these? Why are they hinged? They work really nicely though, as you can see here. Open that up, close it. So that's a little bit of information on this particular video. The story of this project started the day my wife and I bought this house. We were nearing retirement and we had decided to move. We found this house on more than an acre of land north of San Diego, California. As you can see, the lot was rough and there was no garage or workshop. Fortunately, there was space for a workshop garage between the end of the driveway and the house. The space was large enough for a 24-foot by 40-foot building, and I got to design it from scratch. One of the reasons we chose this property was the beautiful view that we had from the front of the house. I decided that I wanted the same view for my workshop. You can see the view that I was after from this picture of the slab after it was poured. A month later, that wall was installed. The next morning, even though the fog obscured my view, I was thrilled with the decision to put a window in that end of the shop. My dream almost crumbled when I discovered that the shop windows that I'd ordered were too small for the opening. There was some kind of miscommunication between Toughshed, who built the building, and the window supplier. Fortunately, the windows were too small rather than being too large, so the Toughshed crew quickly got busy reframing the openings by adding some more 2x4 lumber. The windows were quickly installed after that. As the windows were installed, I was again excited that they were preserving my view, but I didn't realize at the time that they were also creating places to hang tools. This is how my windows looked soon after we moved in and we put in a front yard, but didn't have all the landscaping done yet out front. All I knew at the time is I had a shop window where I could pause for inspiration, just like this cabinet maker in the cabinet shop in Williamsburg, Virginia. As I continued to look for inspiration for my shop, I noticed, just like in the hay shop in Williamsburg, that many woodworkers placed benches under their windows. While in colonial times, I'm sure this was done because of the light coming in through the windows, but modern-day woodworkers have electric lights that they can put in their shops and still continue the practice. An excellent example of a workbench from a modern woodworker under a window is this workbench in the shop of Mike Pekovich from Fine Woodworking. As can be seen in these pictures, the idea of a workbench in a window for woodworkers and other craftsmen has gone on for centuries and will probably continue to do so. Some of you may recognize this workbench from Christopher Schwartz. This was his bench when he was at Popular Woodworking. It's appeared on the cover of at least one book that I know of, and maybe some others. In addition to the workbench being under the window, the tools hanging in the window really tweaked my thoughts. I thought I could do that in my window as well. Robert Lang made this tool rack in 2007 for an article in Woodworking magazine. He got the inspiration for it from Christopher Schwartz. In a blog post about this rack, Lang stated, "One of the great things about our shop is the abundance of windows. They let in a lot of natural light, but they also take up a lot of wall space. It's nice having tools visible and available. And with a rack such as this, tools can safely be stored without being hidden away." The photo on the left shows the rack in its initial configuration, and the one on the right shows it later on in Lang's career. I noticed that Ben Strano, who works for Fine Woodworking, has built this tool rack in the window of his new shop. After Christopher Schwartz left Popular Woodworking, he built this workshop in the back of his home. As you can see in his new workshop, he's also hung tools in the window. Here are other examples of tool racks in the windows of shops. I took all this inspiration and started my tool wall in the windows using that space that the workers created when they found out the windows for my shop were too small for the openings. As you can see, that space has been used by hanging up some boards and putting some French cleats. But I needed to expand that, and I wanted to use the windows. When I mentioned the idea to my wife, she immediately said, "How are you going to open and close the windows if they're covered up with tools?" And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that she was right, and I had to come up with a solution to that particular question. So Pam gave me a challenge, and it's one I decided that I wanted to accept because I did want to have tool racks in my windows. And after really thinking about it, the only solution I could come up with was some kind of hinges. I ended up with piano hinges. You could use some other kinds of hinges if you wanted, but these are working out really well. I used some sash latches to latch them so that they're latch closed, but that swings up very easily. The tool racks open up very easily, and yes, excuse my back, but while I'm here, it's such a beautiful day here, I think I'll open this particular window. So it really worked out nicely for me. As you can see, I use French cleats here on these racks, and I decided to use French cleats because I know I'm going to be moving things around. That's one of the big reasons why I made these, is that I don't have all the tools that I need yet, and so I'll be moving things around. So what I've done is I've made tool holders with French cleats on the back of them, like this screwdriver holder for these Narex square drive screwdrivers. Excellent screwdrivers, by the way. But I'm not sure exactly where these are going to end up at this particular point. Could I have just screwed these into the cross pieces here? Yes, I could have done that, but I'd end up with a lot more holes than I would normally because I'll most likely move these. They've already been moved twice on these French cleats that are over between the windows. So I'm trying to work some flexibility into this. The French cleats, I have 4 of them on each rack. Will they stay in those positions? I don't know. That's something I'll have to see as I get new tools and move things around. It may be that I decide to move one of these because it's in the way, or take it out. They're easy to move because I didn't glue them on. I just screwed them on. So I'll end up with some extra holes, but who of us don't have extra holes in the walls of our shop? So that really won't be a problem. And if I don't like the hole, I can just drill it out and fill it with a dowel. Use it as an accent. You know, we have all done that, I'm sure, someplace along the line. So that's what this particular rack is for, how I designed it with the French cleats and why the French cleats. One of the things that I've noticed that I'm going to have to do with these French cleats now in the windows, I'm going to have to redesign some of my tool holders. This Veritas flush cut saw holder, for example, is full length of the saw, which is nice. It looks nice on the French cleats between the windows. But if I put that in the window, I'm going to have this blocking my view. So what I need to do is I need to cut it from here, maybe down to here. It'll still hang in the window and on the French cleat, but it won't block my view as much. I have saws like my Japanese saw that I'd like to hang in the window. Now, if I hang it this way, that's not going to work because that's going to block more of my view. So I'll need to come up with a tool holder that will hang it this way. I thought while I was at it, I would address some concerns that came up on Facebook and Instagram when I posted this project there. And the first concern was tool theft. One of the people was afraid that if he did something like this in his shop, that people would see all the tools in the windows and break in and steal all his tools. That is a possibility, but it's a possibility even without the tools in the window. Fortunately, here I'm fairly safe. We're in a fairly secure area, and I don't seem to have that particular problem. We don't have prowlers coming through our property at night. But that is a concern. The other concern that I had was from someone else that said he was afraid of sun damage on the tools. And I thought about that, and I thought, well, if someone like Christopher Schwartz and Robert Lang and some of the others have put tools in their windows, there must not be a real big problem with sun damage on the tools. I have, however, come up with the solution for both of those issues if I think they're a problem, and that is I'm going to put in window shades. You know, the old-fashioned roll-up window shades with strings on them that you can pull them down and put them back up. I'm going to install those in the windows, and I'm going to do that for those two reasons and another reason. And that is, as you've noticed when I do videos over here on this tool area, I have a lot of sunlight coming in from behind. And that's an issue, especially in the afternoon when I'm trying to video in here. So if I put shades on the windows, I can pull those down and use this as a backdrop for my videos. So I am planning to put some window shades in. I haven't priced those out yet or picked them up, but I'll be doing that pretty soon. Well, that gives you some kind of an idea of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. The next video in this series is going to be more detail, looking up close and seeing how these are made and how they're put together and how they're hung in the windows. And then following that will be a construction video. One of those some of you like because I'll be doing a lot of cutting and using the different saws. Well, it's such a beautiful day here in Southern California, so I think what I'm going to do is cut this a little short, open all the windows, and get back to work. If you like this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up down below. I thank all of you who have subscribed to our channel. We picked up some new ones recently, and welcome to the channel. And I thank you all very much for watching.